Today on Matador News, more than 100 bodies have been pulled from the site of a U.S.-led coalition airstrike in Mosul. Canada will announce plans to legalize marijuana by 2018, and the Oakland Raiders are preparing for another big move.
Hello and welcome to Matador News. I'm Alaysia Navarro.
And I'm Serafina Maulupe. The Supreme Court reverses a Texas ruling on a death row inmate's mental ability. A Texas appeals court ruling had said that 57-year-old Bobby James Moore is not intellectually disabled and that he should be executed. Moore shot a store clerk in a robbery in 1980. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said in her majority opinion that the Texas top criminal appeals court had ignored current medical standards. The Supreme Court sided with Moore, who will now not be executed.
More than 100 bodies have been pulled from the site of a U.S.-led coalition airstrike in Mosul. Both Iraqi and U.S. Defense Departments launched investigations into possible civilian deaths in airstrikes that happened between March 17th and March 23rd. The deaths have sparked about the Trump administration being reckless about the rules of engagement in combat. But Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas says ISIS is to blame.
Ultimately, though, the blame lays with the Islamic State. They are the savages that are fighting from civilian locations like apartment buildings and homes, mosques, hospitals, schools, and so forth.
U.S. and Iraqi forces have been trying to take control of Mosul from ISIS since last October of last year.
Canada will introduce legislation to legalize marijuana by summer of 2018. Health Minister Jane Philpott that the government plans to introduce legislation legalizing marijuana in spring 2017. She said young people are using cannabis in very amounts and are purchasing from people who have connections to criminal organizations. Under the legislation, the federal government would be in charge of securing the country's marijuana supply, but provinces would hold the right to decide how the product is distributed and sold. Legalizing marijuana was one of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's campaign promises. Trudeau says that until all regulations are sorted, the same laws apply.
The son of an Oklahoma homeowner fatally shot 3 teenage burglars. County Sheriff Nick Mahoney said the 3 teens broke into the home yesterday afternoon.
They were dressed in black, all had masks on, and all had gloves on.
One suspect reportedly had a knife. Another one was carrying brass knuckles. For now, police are calling the shooting self-defense. The fourth suspect drove off. The getaway driver turned herself into police shortly after the shooting. Neither the son nor the father was injured.
Now let's go to Matador News reporter Malcolm Finney in the newsroom with CSUN students' views on tuition increase.
Thanks, Serafina. The California State University Board of Trustees voted to increase tuition. Starting fall 2017, CSU tuition will increase by $270. Some CSUN students give their opinion on the increase and how it affects them.
It's definitely going to be a setback, not only for me, but for a lot of students in general who are barely getting by with paying their tuition, as well as just getting by with life.
Now that I know that tuition went up, it's going to mean that I have to work even harder or somehow get the money some way or another.
With tuition already being a struggle to maintain for some students, the increase seems insensitive. CSUN Director of Media Relations Carmen Chandler says the trustees and the chancellor did not want to raise tuition.
No one, including the chancellor, wanted to increase the fees, but they felt there was no option. They were very much aware of the discomfort this will bring, and discomfort is a polite word. It can mean some serious stress of some of our students.
Officials say the increase will generate almost $78 million in net revenue. 60% of Cal State students whose tuition is covered by grants and waivers will not be affected. Now back to Alaysia in the studio.
Lawmakers continue to demand House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes step down as leader of the investigation into Russian ties to the Trump campaign. Representative Joaquin Castro says Nunes was too invested in Trump's political agenda and acted in a biased way. Nunes confirmed yesterday he met up with an unnamed source on the White House grounds who gave him access to classified material connected to the investigation. He said he was there because he needed a secure location to view the information. Committee member Eric Swalwell is calling it a cover-up crime. Lawmakers say Nunes is not an objected party to the investigation anymore. Nunes says there is no reason for him not to remain chairman.
President Trump is repealing all of the Obama-era executive orders related to climate change. Trump signed an order to put aside the focus of climate change and to put American jobs as a priority. He says Obama's regulations were not helpful to the coal industry, and he wants to honor a pledge he made to the industry. The executive order is an attempt by the Trump administration to bring back more coal jobs.
The final day to file taxes is April 18th. If you don't file for an extension by the due date, there will be a 5% late filing penalty for every month you're late. If you file more than 60 days after the due date, the minimum penalty is $135, or 100% of your unpaid tax. CSUN students that need help filing taxes can visit the VITA clinic on campus. Appointments are encouraged but not required.
Now let's go to Allan Medina with the latest in health news.
Thanks, Serafina. Doctors say drug addiction should be treated as a medical condition. The American College of Physicians say drug addiction is not a problem with morality, but a disease like diabetes. ACP President Dr. Knighton Damley says doctors should start playing a role in minimizing the stigma of substance abuse disorders. He says it's important to educate physicians about treatment access and showing patients proper recovery methods for addiction. Rising global temperatures can impact public health with the spread of infectious diseases and food shortages. Scientists say climate change can now be linked to type 2 diabetes. A Dutch researcher says with every 1 degree Celsius rise in environmental temperature, it could lead to 100,000 new diabetes cases per year in the U.S. alone. Researchers warn that this is not the sole cause of people getting diabetes. Other factors known to cause type 2 diabetes include calorie consumption and weight. The Trump administration says it will defund sanctuary cities. The policy continues to create anxiety among CSUN students. Now let's go to the newsroom where Matador News reporter Jose Duran has more on the story.
Thanks, Allan. Attorney General Jeff Sessions restated yesterday that the Trump administration plans to defund sanctuary cities. He said cities that refuse to comply with federal immigration laws will lose funding from the Justice Department.
And as we continue a dialogue and a discussion, and as we continue to ensure that monies that go for law enforcement only go to cities who are participating in an effective, collegial, cooperative way with the federal government, that would also send a message.
The potential loss in funding will affect state and local law enforcement agencies. LA Mayor Garcetti says the city will continue to hand over dangerous criminals, but other undocumented immigrants will not be turned in without a warrant. CSUN students Christian Pineda and Mayan Rodriguez expressed their agreement with the mayor's position.
I think it's a horrible idea. This United States needs sanctuary cities. People are in trouble out there.
We are a sanctuary city, and I think the entire state of California is a sanctuary city, and we're all made of immigrants, so the fact that he's not going to hand over any, that's probably what should have been happening.
Some students also expressed concern and anxiety over the potential decrease in law enforcement funding and resources. Personnel at the Klotz Student Health Centers say they are always able to assist students dealing with stress. Now, let's go back to Isabel Ochoa with the latest in business news.
American Airlines buys a stake in China's biggest major state-owned carrier. American has agreed to pay $200 million to Southern China Airlines. The agreement represents almost 3% of China's Southern shares and requires regulatory approval. The deal is expected to expand commercial cooperation, sales, airport facilities, and code sharing. China is forecast to pass North America over the next 2 decades as the biggest air travel market. Ford is investing $1.2 billion in Michigan. The automaker plans to spend $850 million at its assembly plant to make the Ford Ranger and Ford Bronco. $200 million is expected to go to a new data center that will store information collected from self-driving cars. Ford expects the plan to add 130 new jobs to its engine plant. The investment comes at a time when U.S. markets shift from a car market to a truck and SUV market. Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk is investing in a brain-computer interface venture called Neuralink. The company creates devices that can be implanted in the human brain. The purpose of the chips is to help human beings merge with software. The enhancements could improve memory or allow for more direct interfacing with computing devices. The billionaire entrepreneur says the device could be 4 or 5 years away. Now let's go to Allan with the latest in sports news.
The Oakland Raiders have officially decided to move to Las Vegas after the league-wide 31-1 vote. The new stadium will have 65,000 seats and will be shared with the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, but it will not be open until 2020. The Raiders will continue to play in Oakland for the next 2 years, with 2019 up in the air. Some CSUN students say they'll follow the Raiders anywhere they go.
The Raiders are moving to Nevada. Finally, Vegas is going to get their team.
I think it's great, man. I think it's awesome because the Raiders started in LA, and so they have a lot of their fan base here. So if for them to go to Oakland, it's a 6-hour drive. But then for them to go to Vegas, it's a 4-hour drive. Personally, I'm a Rams fan, so even having a relocation from any team, and if they're closer to home, that's even better for the Raiders fan base.
This will be the Raiders' third move in the last 35 years. Argentina will be without its best player for its next 4 World Cup qualifying matches. Lionel Messi was dealt the ban by FIFA for verbally abusing an official in the game this past week against Chile. He was fined more than $10,000 by the disciplinary panel. He is expected to appeal the ban. This comes a few weeks after Mexican league officials went on strike for not properly handling suspensions of players that have abused them verbally or physically. The defending NBA champions Cleveland Cavaliers suffered one of the biggest losses of the year. The Cavs lost to San Antonio Spurs 103-74. LeBron James is left in the third quarter after taking an elbow into the back. Kyrie Irving stayed in the game and shot around, and the loss resulted in them becoming second seed in the East and the Boston Celtics taking over as first. MVP candidate Russell Westbrook got his 37th triple-double of the season, along with hitting the game winner against the Dallas Mavericks. OKC were down 13 points with 3:30 left in the game, and that's when he took over. The Thunder went on a 14-0 run to end the game. Westbrook had 37 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists to finish out the game. The Final Four of the men's college basketball tournament will begin Saturday. North Carolina Tar Heels squeaked into the Final Four after Kentucky's Malik Monk hit the game-tying three-pointer with 7 seconds left. Walk-on Luke May hit the game winner with 0.3 seconds left in the game, securing their spot in the Final Four. North Carolina faces Oregon and Gonzaga and battles South Carolina for a spot in the national championship game. Now let's go back to Isabel for more in entertainment news.
There's wedding bells for a cast member of the Netflix series Orange is the New Black. The show star Samira Wiley has married her longtime girlfriend and writer of the hit series Lauren Morelli. The couple shared their vows on Saturday in Palm Springs, California. Morelli says they met on the set of Orange is the New Black. She divorced her husband of 2 years in 2014 after realizing she was lesbian. Morelli says she fell in love with Wiley while filming the show. The couple's marriage will be featured in an upcoming issue of Martha Stewart Weddings. The creator and producer of the Lifetime reality TV series Dance Moms is ending the show. Abby Lee Miller is quitting before she receives her charges for federal bankruptcy. Miller posted on Instagram she is no longer going to be a part of the show. According to Miller, she is not working for the show anymore because she has been manipulated, disrespected, and used. She had pleaded guilty in June of hiding $775,000 from a bankruptcy court. Miller is going to be sentenced in her hometown of Pittsburgh on May 8th. Thank you for watching Matador News. I'm Isabel Ochoa.
I'm Alaysia Navarro.
I'm Serafina Maulupe.
And I'm Allan Medina.